The Australian Museum is on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We recognise the urgency of learning from the deep knowledge and experience of First Nations people who have cared for this land for many tens of thousands of years. This always was, always will be Aboriginal land. We acknowledge elders past, present and emerging, and any First Nations people in the audience today. Hi, I'm Jenny Newell, Curator for Climate Change in the Climate Solutions Centre at the Australian Museum.
Hi, I'm Madison Kuras, Project Officer in the Climate Solutions Centre. Today, we'll be telling you all about the work of the Climate Solutions Centre, focusing on the ways that we are engaging climate-disengaged audiences. To show you how we're doing this, we are showcasing our exciting new touring exhibition, Future Now, which has been connecting to audiences in shopping centres, libraries, and venues outside the traditional museum space. We'll also be showing you around the Australian Museum, so stay with us.
The Australian Museum is Australia's first public museum, opening in central Sydney in 1827. With the largest collection in the Southern Hemisphere, over 22 million objects, the Australian Museum represents a timeline of the environmental and cultural histories of the Australian and Pacific regions. The Australian Museum has a wonderful mission statement to ignite wonder, inspire debate and drive change. Our vision prioritises climate change, so in addition to being a leading voice for the richness of life, the earth and culture in Australia and the Pacific, we commit to transform the conversation around climate change, the environment and wildlife conservation. The museum takes steps every day to put this statement into action. Through the Australian Museum Research Institute, the museum scientists draw on the extensive natural history collections, genomics, fieldwork and citizen science to track climate change impacts and support biodiversity conservation.
The AM's environmental leadership journey began formally in 2018 when the Sustainability Project Officer, Zara Ahmed, working across the museum as a whole, created our first Sustainability Action Plan. Since then, the AM has implemented an environmental management system, reduced energy and waste, and in 2020 became the first museum in Australia to become carbon neutral. The learnings from this plan informed a new, more holistic plan that includes public outreach on climate change and staff engagement across all the museum's departments. Our Sustainability and Climate Action Plan is available on our website as a resource for other museums.
The Australian Museum is dedicated to increasing understanding and action on climate change through its Climate Solutions Centre, launched in 2020. The Climate Solutions Centre shares powerful stories for positive futures. We bring together experts in tackling climate change, from scientists in labs to communities on the front line, to help us as we design exhibitions, conversations, school programs, digital productions and other media. We are reaching out to broad audiences across Australia to share insights and inspire more people to engage with what is happening in our world.
At the Climate Solutions Centre, we showcase solutions that focus on Indigenous approaches to caring for country, the many ways we can all help look after nature and each other, the technologies that help us reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and ways that we can build strong, resilient communities. All of these approaches help create places that are good to live in, supporting us and other species as well as possible as our planet warms and our weather becomes more extreme and more dangerous.
We help people to understand the growing challenges facing us, and to see that everything we do to join with others to move quickly away from coal, gas and oil, to protect nature and build strong communities, creates a better future for all of us.
Conversations about the climate and ecological crisis can stir up many challenging emotions, such as fear, dread and hopelessness. But these emotions are less likely to lead to concrete action. There is little general knowledge about the many technological, nature-based and community-based solutions that are already out there. We know from studies as well as our own conversations with people over the years that finding out about these solutions and seeing a role for oneself within them generates hope, action is the best antidote for despair.
We're here in the Changing Climate permanent exhibition, and here we're highlighting taking action. We explore the themes of how humans are changing the climate and the scale of impacts in Australia. We feature what we can do personally and what needs to be done in collectives, including by our leaders. We have a particular focus on how climate change impacts Australia's ecosystems and animals, illustrated with examples from biodiversity research by Australian Museum research scientists. Using an object learning approach, Changing Climate uses specimens and personal objects that illustrate personal stories and experiences of climate change, including Indigenous knowledge holders, a marine biologist, a GP, a farmer, and an urban arborist. We have an interactive map of Australia to explore facts about the changing environment that allows visitors to explore their own climate impact. Finally, we have a series of short interviews with a variety of speakers on the impacts of the climate crisis. The overall aim of Changing Climate is to help those who are interested in climate change to find out more, but also to make the basic point for those who tend to downplay the importance or dismiss the reality of human-induced climate change, that it is happening, that the causes are clear, and it is important enough to be shown in a museum. We need more museums to present on the climate crisis. No matter the subject of the museum, all that we care about is affected.
The Climate Solutions Centre also creates temporary exhibitions, like Spark, Australian Innovations Tackling Climate Change. Spark focuses on innovative solutions to the climate crisis, including First Nations approaches to caring for country, collective action, clean tech, like Australia's first locally made electric motorbike, renewable energy tech, ways of protecting biodiversity, regenerative farming with nature, and much more. Its digital twin is available on the AM website and was recently featured at the Australian Pavilion at COP28 in Dubai.
The Climate Solutions Centre over the past 3 years has achieved digital engagement of over 100,000 sessions per annum and in-person engagement in exhibitions, talks and face-to-face conversations of around 200,000 each year. However, we are often talking to those who are already concerned. There are significant gaps in our audience. To tackle this problem, we've spoken to the Australia Institute with their Climate of the Nation survey and the social research group 555. Their research shows a growing level of concern in Australia in the wake of the bushfires, heat waves, floods and severe weather of recent years. A clear majority of the population, usually coming in at around 74 to 75%, are concerned about climate change. The Climate Compass attitude surveys identify audience segments, tracking perceptions of the severity of the challenge and beliefs about personal agency. They can see a high level of concern about climate change among segments they call the alarmed, the alert and the concerned, totalling about 54% of the population. People in these segments are likely to engage with climate information, to trust scientists and to visit cultural institutions. But to reach the climate cautious and disengaged, we need to be particularly canny. The best way to do this is by speaking to their values. People in these segments want to be reassured that things will be okay. They respond well to opportunity messages, jobs, the economy and regional growth. Social researcher Rebecca Huntley has identified key values for these audiences: saving money, safe and healthy places to raise families, clean air and clean water. They don't respond to purely climate messaging and they feel that lots of climate messaging is alarmist. Future Now is designed for this audience.
Future Now features 3 dioramas to demonstrate that we have all the tools we need now to create the future that we want. These dioramas illustrate ideal human nature landscapes that provide practical pathways to personal action through lowering emissions, regenerating nature, advancing the circular economy, and building strong communities. These solutions multiplied are needed to tackle the climate crisis. Future Now shows how everyone can help them advance.
Future Now has 3 dioramas. One of them is Smart Towns, a green cityscape supporting community activities, clean energy and transport, Caring for Our Country, which is a forest to sea landscape, and Clever Homes, a sustainable house and garden. The messaging, of course, is really focused in on the benefits of living sustainably. As we start to focus in on the model, you can see there's lots of things to be discovered here for saving money, such as installing solar panels, driving an EV, and growing your own vegetables. For ensuring clean air, we have many different methods featured. People can see cyclists and solar films on windows, flexible solar panels on awnings. We have lots of vegetation in each of the dioramas, pulling down greenhouse gases. We feature biotech using algae, again to pull down CO2 out of the atmosphere. Looking through to the farming section, we're really looking after soil health here with lots of different methods, not ploughing but using no-till methods of growing crops. We have rotational grazing featured. Also, we're making sure that we're bolstering the soil microbiome, keeping the soil covered with vegetation. So lots of different examples of what farming can do to help us increase drawdown of greenhouse gases. We also feature a seaweed farm. Seaweed helps to increase human and ocean health. There's a few points there about how seaweed and seagrass meadows and mangroves are really crucial for drawdown of greenhouse gases, as well as supporting biodiversity. The label text and diagrams cover bigger systemic concepts, explaining climate change and the carbon cycle. So while climate change was kept out of the headlines, we do address it clearly and simply here. And we make sure it is clear that living sustainably helps to create safer, more comfortable places to live in. We also include new technology to appeal to all segments of the climate compass, even the dismissive people, because everyone across that compass is interested in new tech. So we have, for instance, an eVTOL, which is an electric vertical takeoff and landing machine, a bit like a flying Uber, and that's landed on top of a skyscraper in the urban diorama.
Future Now's location in shopping centres ensured that the exhibition reached audiences that would not normally devote time to considering sustainability or visiting museums. This was also very successful in that people in towns without museums were able to have an exhibition come to them, in their own space. As the major goal of Future Now is to involve new audiences in climate engagement, it's incredibly important to us that the exhibition is as inclusive as possible. Understanding the dioramas does not need English comprehension. It can be understood by those who cannot yet read or who can't read English. Text panels are at reading height for someone who is using a wheelchair, and there is large font size for those with low vision. Videos are subtitled and text is written for those 12 years and older. Multiple languages are available on our website, and the text is available in the 4 languages of greatest need for the region.
While Future Now is at shopping centres, we were able to have quite a few different public programs across each of the venues. These were mostly targeted at school groups and school-aged children on holidays, and this included education sessions with me, the curator, and holiday workshops with sustainability craft sessions and seedling planting workshops, which were all really well attended. In the early part of the exhibition tour, additional talks and feedback sessions were held for secondary school teachers, and the AM Education Department developed a learning journey and resources for teachers and parents to complement the exhibition, both on-site and at home. Video resources and activity sheets are also available on our website.
During Future Now's tour of 4 Stockland centres, it was available to an estimated 3 million shoppers, and around 760,000 stopped to engage. There have been over 30,000 views of the exhibition's web pages, including the pages in Mandarin, Arabic, Punjabi and Vietnamese. 84% of the people surveyed at the exhibition found it to be informative, with 62% reporting they had learned something new. School-focused engagement is particularly important, as children were observed using the exhibition as a teaching tool for their adults, encouraging intergenerational conversation and further engaging the target groups. Empowering young people as teachers was also an advantage of the dioramas, as they could share the information and learning with their adults, as well as pointing out things that they could be doing at home.
It was really good hearing what people were saying about the exhibition, and a lot of the comments we received have been really helpful for helping us design the second phase of the Future Now exhibition. We were hearing things like, "I think every shopping centre should have this. It's really great. I love seeing what the future can look like." Someone else said, "I would love to live in a place like this. I wish I was small so I could live here. So it was really great to see that people were really understanding that this is a way that we can aim to live in the future. One of my favourite comments was from a young man who said, "I wish our town looked like this. I'm going to fight for our town to be like this." The other good thing that the Future Now exhibition has done is to enable people to come together for conversations in their own communities that they wouldn't normally be able to have. So it's sort of like a place where people can convene, come together and have the kinds of conversations between groups that they wouldn't normally be able to inspire, or that they'd feel a bit nervous about calling together. So it's really great to see how a land care group can call on an environment group or a group of farmers to come in and talk and listen to each other around the exhibition. It's been really effective in that way. It's been really rewarding having other towns come to us and ask if they can have Future Now come to their place, because they've seen how well it works in another town, seeing the kinds of discussions that crop up between different groups and how excited people are by the exhibition. And so it's been wonderful to see how well it's been going as it travels around and having people want to have it come to their place.
Future Now continues to enable robust and engaging conversations about sustainability, regenerating nature, and tackling the climate emergency as it continues on its tour of regional Australia.
We encourage you, if you haven't already, to bring the climate and ecological crisis into your work. We encourage you to talk to your communities, to identify their questions and meet them where they are, to give them the best chance to access the information they need to respond effectively to the challenges of our climate-changed world. Do get in touch if you want to compare notes, or sign up online for the Museums and Climate Change Network to join an international community of museum workers advancing climate action. We are stronger together.